Hello, everyone, and welcome to another meeting of Source Evolutionaries. And here we are on the evening of Thursday, November the 5th, here in the UK. I know it's the morning time there for you, Kevin, in LA. Tell us, Kevin, is America at civil war yet, or is that, do you think, yet to come? I just saw pictures of Republicans with guns outside polling stations. That's what I woke up to.
Well, in a democracy, you have to prevent people from voting. That's one of the first things that you need to do, especially if the president only has so many lawyers to do lawsuits to prevent voting. I wish it were humorous, but I think the vote is in on where the country stands, which is divided. Whoever gains the throne is not going to really change the complexion of a country that seems to be I think in thinking about this is not the same country that elected Barack Obama twice, but maybe that was part of the plan. How do you get from there to here? I think probably Facebook and Fox News and the Russians, and I think not wanting to step too deep into the waters there, I think it seems to be similar with respect to Brexit, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm
So
sure we'll come on to more discussion around what's going on politically and in America and here, because we've just gone into lockdown here in the UK today.
I know you have, and here we've had over 100,000 cases every day. We can certainly speak to that, but I think the meta-political or metaphysical point of view that I have is that if you can't have peace during the storm, then what is meditation and a life of a spiritual path, so to speak, worth?
Yes.
So that seems to be the litmus test right now.
Yeah, for sure. So on that note, let us just do an alignment to do this sort of official opening of this call, which is always a beautiful thing to do, just to find that still point. And then we'll start coming out and getting some of you on the call as people are joining the whole time. So let's just take a pause. From the east, house of light, may wisdom dawn in us so we may see all things in clarity. From the north, house of night, may wisdom ripen in us so we may know all from within. From the west, house of transformation, may wisdom be transformed into right action so we may do what must be done. From the south, house of the eternal sun, may right action reap the harvest so we may enjoy the fruits of planetary being. From above, house of heaven, where star people and ancestors gather, may their blessings come to us now. From below, house of earth, may the heartbeat of her crystal core bless us with harmonies to end all war. From the center, galactic source, which is everywhere at once, may everything be known as the light of mutual love. Oh. Okay, so just to set the scene for tonight's discussion, as we've been saying, the presidential election results are almost finalized. It looks like Joe Biden is going to win, but America seems divided. Here in the UK, we've gone into lockdown like many of the other European countries. And my sense is it's a very different flavor of lockdown to the first one. There's a lot more anger and uprising associated with it. On a more metaphysical note, personally, I had the most incredible weekend, the Samhain full moon. We did a completion of the Source Inner Circle, mentoring Mandala, which is a small group which has been journeying since Imbolc for a 9-month journey of transformation and healing. And we completed that journey at the weekend, doing 2 nights of ceremony here on the land in the Peak District in a teepee, which I set up in my garden, a big teepee. which was absolutely incredible and super powerful. A flower of life, mandala of six, so 5 women, and my son, who acted as a shaman, around grandfather fire, Tatawari. And it was incredibly powerful. And it does feel to me that something very profound has shifted, that we are opening into a new golden era. This metamorphosis is really coming to a completion. And we just have to hold our nerve, as Kevin said, to hold that center in the eye of the storm, that 0 point where all of the power is, because it seems to me that the whole of the patriarchal system and everything that's happening is designed to create dissonance. It's designed to pull us off center. So just keeping coming back to that center, dropping from mind and into the heart, transcending fear and anger and judgment and all of those other tools of the control system, so that we can stay in that central point where all of the power is, to stay, to anchor into that 0 point, and keep visioning the world that we do want to create. So, I mean, so numerous teachings from the weekend, and I may touch on more of them later, but let's come over to you, Kevin, and just tune in really to how are you feeling, Kevin? Because I know it's been really tough times for you personally and generally America in general.
I'm really interested in what everybody else is feeling right now, and then maybe we can circle back, because, our news is somewhat filtered, and, I think the lockdown is something that we've experienced. So I'm happy to share, but I don't want to. I think maybe if it's okay, we could kick it off with some of the folks weighing in on how they're feeling over there.
Yeah, okay, for sure. So who would like to just jump on and just share? Angela, do you want to start things off, and we'll just go
Yeah,
around the group and see who's up for contributing?
yeah, I can share. For me, right now, I feel very strange, overwhelmed, I would say, internally, which is a very strange thing for me. Normally, I think I'm quite centered. I find that I'm affected very much by the US election, but mostly because I just feel like just not sure-footed. So on my Facebook feed, for example, my network is very divided, and there are people that I love greatly who have very different opinions now to me, and that's a little bit strange. It's disconcerting that I'm not a Trump follower, I'm not a QAnon follower, and although I've read and watched both sides because I like to see both sides, and I'm not sure-footed. Yeah, that's where I am right now. And so I find myself with this election thinking, come on, Biden, come on, Biden. And at the same time thinking, but could this be potentially the crash of the system that is really needed right now, to really wake everyone up? And that just sinking into this feeling of just, I know nothing, almost being shrinking, being small, but not in a way, being humble, small, like maybe now's the time to let some higher power let this run its course somehow. And at the same time, emotionally, just not on an even keel. That could be, for me personally, something going on in my chart. But I just feel like the energies that are around now are quite emotionally overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
And I also feel a little fear creeping in with this distance that I feel from some people that I love, especially in the spiritual realm, who are, sharing all these QAnon messages, and I just hearing right-wing Handmaid's Tales just about to happen. Yeah, it's a very confusing time.
Yeah, Angela, I totally get that. There's a lot of interference in the grid. Everything feels very chaotic, and my feeling on it, my observation on it, is that people aren't so much deciding which government to elect or who to put into government, or should it be red or should it be blue. People are questioning the entire system, which is a very different thing. And so I think that that's a bigger dynamic that's going on right now, questioning the entire system. And certainly at the weekend, I really saw very clearly that this whole artificial control system, the false matrix, which is a metaphysical thing locked in place many centuries ago, my feeling is, it's that which is being uninstalled, that old program, that the program, the metaphysical program that locked the power into the grid, and its tools are fear, judgment, shame, anger, trauma. And so, keeping in those places of faith and love and higher vibration and in resonance, those are our very best tools to transcend the chaos and really hold that light as that old system falls away, as it must surely do. That's my sense.
As you spoke then, I just felt the scene from Braveheart, where he's like, hold it, hold the line, but the line is the vertical line in this instance. Hold it. Yeah.
I haven't seen that movie, but yeah, I get
yeah.
Okay, who else would like to come on and just share what they're feeling, what's coming up, any insights, any wisdom? Lisa, do you want to come on?
It's a very interesting time, isn't it? I think, I've been following the astrology. I'm no astrologer, but following the astrology. And I think we're in for even more drama. Yeah, there's lots more drama to come. But I think it's about not getting sucked into the drama, isn't it? And kind of just moving higher. But we were just having dinner and we were listening to the shenanigans that was going on with the American election. And there's lots about Trump that I really don't like. But I feel really uncomfortable with Biden as well. I feel really, really uncomfortable about him around children. Really uncomfortable. And so I just think I think the whole thing is quite concerning, and I think it's beyond that. I think it's beyond that what's happening. It's beyond whether it's, I think it's like you're saying, Rachel, it's beyond whether it's one or the other. But then we were having something to eat, and me and my husband were saying, it's just Trump kicking off in his normal style, about a bit like a petulant teenager and all the rest of it. And I said, yeah, but what if it's not? What if it's not? What if there is some shenanigans going on there? How do we know? And it was a little bit like on Saturday, actually, we were driving just near your house, Rachel. For the last day out we could have, we came to Bakewell and Matlock. So we came to Derbyshire. And we were in the car and I was saying, part of this makes me want to become a journalist, but a real one that kind of finds out the truth. But it's like, how do you find out the truth? So I just think stay curious and not, I'm in that place of staying centered, staying curious and not getting dragged into the minutiae, because that could be, you could get down a rabbit hole that would be difficult to get back out again. And so I'm trying to hold this space of not getting caught in the 3D and lifting above it and seeing it as something much, much bigger, that I hope that we will come out the other side in a much higher vibration, in a much different place. And watching and observing and being curious and holding that space of curiosity.
Yes, yeah.
I'm at.
And I think that is the thing, that this perfect resonance of truth, God is love and love is a perfect harmonic resonance, and tuning in to be able to detect dissonance and what's truth and what's not, just by listening and tuning in, and just like, does this feel resonant, or does it feel out of tune? I think that's always a good measure, isn't it? To just tune in and feel, and because not all things which look to be in harmonic resonance truly are. They're not all coming from the heart space. Yeah, so we need to be in super clarity to just tune in and create that space, that pause, so that we're not triggered into anger, fear, sharing, before we just like giving it that space to like, is this true? Or is this just propaganda? Is this just power games? But I certainly agree that Joe Biden seems to just be a puppet for the capitalist backers, and it could be the final piece that's needed for the Great Reset, the final piece of the jigsaw to complete, because it would seem to me that Donald Trump is probably the one person who has not, well, one of the few countries that has not agreed to go along with the Great Reset, the Klaus Schwab Great Reset program. That's my sense of it. So to me, that is where the potential danger lies, because America's a big piece in that puzzle. But
yes, so I'm new to this group. I've been following Rachel on Facebook, so I literally earlier saw the link. My name's Katie McCann. I live in Leicester. And in fact, I went to London to the protest the 26th of September. I got a lift from a chap who lives in Loughborough, and I noticed that he follows Rachel on Facebook. So that's why I started following her. And just a few days ago, Rachel, when you put, you linked to a post about astrology, a sort of forecast for the next couple of months. And I felt it was the first thing I'd read that made me feel some hope. And like I think a lot of you, I've been feeling very off balance and finding it difficult to keep the balance between staying well informed and keeping my center.
yes.
And so, yeah, exactly what people have been talking about. So with the US election, unlike Angela, I've been sort of come on Trump because I'm so concerned about the globalist agenda. And even though, you know, a few weeks ago, I hadn't really had any kind of support for Trump, but I do feel he's, you know, against the globalist agenda.
Katie, what do you do out of interest?
So at the moment, I don't have much work because, in fact, in September, I was on a fixed term contract with the University of Nottingham, but it actually looks like I'm getting some more university work and I do examining work. But I am single and live alone, so the whole lockdown thing is quite a big deal. Today, I went out to a supermarket and I was really pleased. So I think, Rachel, I think you said this is a different lockdown. So I went out about 2:30, and so obviously it was before schools would come out, and there was loads of traffic and also coming. So I was just really, and the supermarket I went to was bustling. So I was just really pleased to see that people are out and about. And perhaps a lot of you know that Leicester came out of the first lockdown, so sort of in June, but only for a couple of weeks because we were the first to have a local lockdown. And in fact, it's never really ended. So some restrictions were lifted, but Leicester has had some restrictions all this time. And it was one of the things that was mentioned yesterday in Parliament. But I can tell you, we're just ignoring it. So we're, you know, I feel in Leicester, people wear masks, but I think people have lost interest.
Yes, interesting. And just create an observation around that. It just really seems to me so clear that this agenda to vaccinate everyone, so all of this thing is just, it's constantly leading everyone, all of the messaging, all of the mainstream media, the vaccinations. When are the vaccinations going to be ready? They might be ready before Christmas. If you're lucky, you might get one. Vaccination. This is all an attempt to drive vaccinations and to make them the new normal. To me, it is about driving home a transhuman agenda, vaccinations containing nanotechnology, and that's the way that we're going to be controlled in the future, digitally controlled. And that's what it's all about, put in a really simple nutshell. And the reason it's going to fail is because the only people who will take the vaccinations are the ones who are already compliant. So the ones that they truly want to control, the troublemakers, the rabble rousers, the questioners, the evolutionaries, all of the people who they want to command and control the most, they're all going to say no. So the only way that they're then going to be able to do mandatory vaccination is by force. And the minute it becomes by force, then all the conspiracy theorists don't become conspiracy theorists, they become truth tellers. And everyone wakes up. And that's my sense on it. So that's why their plan will fail. So we just have to keep holding that center and just saying, no, we see you, but we don't consent, we don't agree. And this is just a game, and it's not going to work. And we're just going to just hold strong. And I just want to echo the words here, Kevin. I thought these words were great. We the people will not be silenced. We the people will not be bullied. We the people will not surrender. My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge liberated. I changed the final words, Kevin. That is your friend Joe Biden. His words from probably early yesterday morning. Kevin, do you want to come on and say anything at this stage?
I'd still like to hear what everybody else has to say first.
So, Heidi?
So for me, it's been quite interesting because I think I've sort of stepped out of the stuff that's going on, and although I know there's a lockdown inside me, I don't know there's a lockdown, if that makes sense, in that it doesn't actually it's not making any difference to my life, and I actually feel like quite comfortable with the external stuff that's going on, because I'm not really letting it affect me and kind of the vision I have for the world and what I hope for my children and different things. So all of that external fear that perhaps started to filter in back in March and April time, I'm now just kind of I just repel it, so to speak. And actually this lockdown, it does feel different, because when I looked at the rules, if we wanted to say that, you know, if we were going to follow the rules, I'm allowed a support bubble because I'm a single parent, but I'm also allowed a childcare bubble, which means that I would technically get to socialize more than I've ever done if I did both of those. So to me it was just like, well, you know, I can hang out with my parents all the time, and I can hang out with another family as much as I want for informal childcare. So it was like, well, we don't do that currently. But I think for me is this idea that actually I'm focused on what I want in terms of the positive stuff, rather than all of this crap that's going on out there. It's just it's like surface stuff that's not really relevant in a lot of respects. I don't know if it's making sense, but that's kind of how things are for me at the moment.
Wonderful. That's so good that you're just carrying on as normal and just kind of surfing the wave of it, really, rather than being dragged down into it. Yeah, thank you, Heidi. Thank you for coming on and sharing. Anyone else want to come on? Lara, Valerie, Healy, Jeannie, Chrissy?
Yeah, I'll say something.
Hi, Lara.
Hi. So I'm new to this session with you. I came on last month, and actually I think I'd seen a YouTube video or something that you spoke about, the virus, and I really resonated with, what you were talking about. I'm a yoga teacher, and I've been, on a spiritual path for about 25 years now. And what I'm really intrigued by at the moment is the collective energy, and how I'm feeling this incredible support from the people, everyone that I kind of come into contact with. There's this kind of collectiveness, and through that I really feel like the conscious vibration is rising, daily. And I think how I kind of feel different from the initial lockdown in March is that I think I've come to a place where, I'm not going to get pulled into the darkness. I don't really follow too much of the media, because actually, the spiritual practices, I really feel that I'm on this planet to be of service, to the Sangha, to the community, and globally. And so in wanting to support that, I don't want to kind of lower my own vibrations. So I think but I'm just so kind of, in awe of this incredible energy that's coming through as a collective energy. And I think if we just kind of carry on doing our own little bits, whatever that is, daily, I think we're going to really, conquer this thing, and I mean, I definitely have some ideas, around the vaccine, and I don't believe this vaccine will come through. I mean, if you look at a flu vaccine, it took about 15 years, to create a flu vaccine, and yet it doesn't have any, even people that take it, it has sort of a 20 to 40%, success rate of, I mean, I'm totally anti-vaccines, full stop. I would never, I've got 2 children, I would never have them vaccinated. But I think, that it's interesting with the election. I have a huge, my children are half American. My teachers are out in America. I have a hunger and community over there. And I'm very saddened actually by the huge divide, over in the States, and really the divide of the country and the people. But I'm just really hoping that we can just keep consciously rising the vibration more and more, and we will come out the other side. It's really keeping the faith daily. But it's really extraordinary. This I actually feel very clear, and I feel very grounded, and I think it's all about just being here right now, present moment. I think, we can't look too far in the future. You get you become overwhelmed, and I think we just got to keep sending out the love, sending out the love to each and every one, and I know we will get there. I know we will. So that's my bit.
Laura, I'm saddened that you're sad. I think that if you all would have us back, the colonies, we'd welcome that at this point. So we can take a vote later. But it is sad. But I think somebody mentioned the astrological implications of what's going on. I was just doing an experiment in patriarchy, letting the women talk. I mean, I've learned that much. But I guess I'm representing the other side of the pond. So what we're experiencing is our Pluto return. So what you experienced with the fall of the British Empire, we are now experiencing here. And the denouement, or the punctuation, is 2022. But when the outer planets do their thing, by the time you get that exactitude, the effect is already felt. So I think this is all going according to divine plan. So I'm like you, Laura. I tend to try to live in the present moment, where we find the past, present, and future if we don't believe that time is linear anyway. It was interesting with the election. It was very straightforward to predict that the results would be delayed because Mercury turned around on election day. If you, all of you are too young to remember, but in 2000, Gore versus Bush, we had Mercury stationary after a long retrograde period, and we didn't find out what happened until December. But and Rachel, Joe Biden is not my friend. Correction. I know you were
You're a
being
Democrat.
well. No, I'm actually an independent, bordering on a Taoist. Um, you know, I think that speaking of patriarchy, I mean, my son said, as well as his girlfriend, my daughter, everybody, I mean, they voted, but they don't really feel they have a horse in the race because these are old gray men that poet laureate T.S. Eliot so well described as the gray men, so off with the Reds, I say. you know.
It's interesting, Kevin, because this uprising that we're experiencing is exactly what created the American War of Independence, because it was the colonists who basically said to the British government, we don't want to be ruled by you anymore. We don't want your taxes. We don't want your command and control strategies. We want liberation. So it's a really interesting echo that is coming again.
Usually empires are a 200 so year Pluto return expiration date. But I do think we'd be better off if we drank more tea here than coffee. And this time the wrong people have the guns anyway. So, Americans love their guns.
And just to say thank you for putting that in the comments, Lisa, that the astrologer on the Facebook group was Pam Gregory, who's also one of the source shareholders, founding shareholders, amazing astrologer. She does every 2 weeks an update on YouTube as well.
And she had a lovely article in Mountain Astrologer in the previous issue, which is available in digital form if you are interested in the subject matter. But she's a formidable force in the world of the starry wisdom for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so would anyone like to come on, contribute? Hey, Stephanie.
So, you know what? This is such a crazy time. And the truth is that we can all sit here and talk to your kingdom come. But we're just in such a place of change. And every single aspect of all of our lives is caught up in it. Whether we've got our heads in a bucket and we don't want to be part of it, or whether we're in the middle stirring the pot. And I think the thing is, we've just got to do what feels right for us. You've got half the population that's absolutely scared to death. And then you've got the other half that really don't believe it. And then you've just got the people in the middle that just mix the pot and cause trouble. So we're in such a place of change, and regardless of how we got here, it's difficult to know if it was always destined anyway. So the thing is, some people have made a lot of money out of COVID. Some people are using it for an excuse to streamline businesses that were greedy or poorly run, where they've overstretched. Some people are using it because they're lazy. So there seems to be a lot of hidden agendas here, all under the same heading. And I think the only thing we can do is stay in the now and focus on what we need to do day by day. I mean, even this time, the shutdown, I was at the supermarket yesterday and it was empty. It's so completely different to the last one. And most businesses are sending out emails to say, look, we're still trading. We're still sending you your goods. So it's all just going to go online. So I think we were forced to shut down because some people were being silly and maybe the virus was on its way up. But I'm not even sure that this is the pandemic that was predicted. Every year there seems to be another illness that comes up and people wonder if it's the pandemic. So maybe everybody's just been crying wolf too much and they jumped on it. Who knows? We probably won't know the truth for another 10 years when it's allowed to leak out. All we can do is do the best we can.
Okay, Stephanie, thank you for that. My feeling is that coronavirus, it's just part of the same family as colds and flu. And so these PCR tests, I mean, I was just wondering to myself, where are these PCR tests? I mean, millions and millions and millions of them in all the countries. Where are they coming from? Who's manufacturing these PCR tests? And what truly are they testing for? Because if they are just picking up on colds and flu and coronavirus, then this time of year, everyone gets colds and flu. So what's being called COVID, is it some lethal, deadly thing, or is it just I've got my annual cold kind of thing?
Well, I think it is that. I think it is that. And like I said, they were predicting a pandemic a long time ago, you know, and last year, you know, we've had SARS, we've had a few that have cropped up, and people were thinking, oh, is this the big pandemic? And it never was. And I think they've just all jumped on it. But the interesting thing is that they keep saying how many people have got it, but the percentage of death is very small, like colds, like pneumonia. Far, far, far more have had it and have recovered than have actually had it and have passed away. And yes, it's a big number that have passed away, but with any new virus, it's always going to spread like wildfire across the globe, because you know and I know that a virus's only purpose in life is to reproduce itself, you know, so it's going to sweep everywhere. But far more people have recovered with very few symptoms.
Yeah, and flu deaths are virtually zero. So it's like flu deaths are being relabeled as COVID, as like, oh my God, it's a big killer, when flu kills more people every year. I mean, I'm cautiously commenting here because I know, Kevin, in America things are taken a bit more seriously there, and I'm being cautious. I'm treading carefully. I don't want to upset you.
I work with a lot of scientists, epidemiologists, you know, so I definitely have a point of view on it. I think there's a lot of magical thinking in general in the American sensibility. It's nice to see you, Chrissy. I'm glad you turned on your video.
Hi, thank you. Just to apologise, I don't want to interrupt, but I was
Please.
driving earlier, so I heard everything, and now I'm home and here. So,
Well, I know you left early last time. I know you had something to do, but we'd love to hear from you.
well, only if you've completed
Yes,
for now. I
please.
didn't want to step in on your feet.
From you.
Just to explain my circumstances, I was driving back from my dad, who is going to be 90 next week. He lives in our old family home, and it's been a very interesting experience to, dare I say, try and re-educate him in terms of what's really going on. Now, that might sound arrogant, and again, I don't want to upset anyone, but Rachel, I am with you. I feel I'm furious, actually. I'm not a person who displays anger. Maybe it's been collapsed anger and depression, but I'm fucking furious. And it's really played out in the way that my dad is isolated. His social life's dropped through the floor. He doesn't see very well. So I'm back in my little cottage, not too far from Rachel, and my life has closed down to the caring for dad, going to the supermarket and being at home trying to get my work online because everything stopped in March. So massive change. I say I'm furious. I am. But, you know, anger can be a good thing, especially if you have my constitution. Sometimes anger is a really powerful driver. So I'm working with that. And I've been showing Dad Dr. Vernon Coleman's videos, which he loves because, of course, they're of a similar age. And it's Vernon Coleman's dry humour and rather... lost my vocabulary, but his way of looking at the situation anyway really encapsulates it, and my dad loves that. So that's probably the best way to describe what's going on at the moment here. American elections, I do know how I feel about it, but I can't demonstrate that opinion with any real evidence. It's a feeling, it's a visceral sense of what needs to happen. And I think you're right, it's way beyond what's happening in the States. It's an absolutely global situation. It is a pandemic, in my opinion. And since March, I have dived down countless rabbit holes late at night, the whole nerdy thing. And I am absolutely unconvinced by the narrative that's out there. In fact, it's laughable. I drove out today to see Dad, forgetting that we're in lockdown. I was in Trafalgar Square. I've written to Margaret Beckett, the Derby South MP. I've suddenly sort of found my warrior spirit again. Anita Roddick taught me to campaign about 35 years ago, and I haven't really lost it. So it's a whole series of different feelings, experiences, and of course the day-to-day. And many, many people in my world are of a very different opinion. So it's really changed my own narrative in terms of who I speak to, who I see. I don't really see anybody. And yeah, where we go from here. I think the main thing, if I can finish on a high, is to say we have to hold this faith and this vision of light. We are entering a new golden age. We are really ready for this. It's been, I don't know how many years overdue. I feel as though it's been my entire lifetime overdue. And it's kind of, would you just get on with it already? Because we need this now. We can't wait another 19 years after 9/11 and all the rest of it. So I'm just doing my best to hold that faith and to drop a little pebble into various pools as I go about my day in Sainsbury's. I haven't worn a mask the whole time, except I have to say my vanity kicked in. I went to the hairdressers and I did wear a mask, but I said at the time I'd have worn a bloody gorilla suit to get my hair done, because that was the way I was feeling at the time. Gorilla suit without the head, of course. So that's where I am, really. I hold this vision, hold this light, and I see that we are ready to step into this golden age. And as that gains momentum and power, and it will need a cataclysmic event that's probably going to happen, I don't know, tomorrow morning or sometime soon in the States, for so many other people to really realise what's actually going on. I don't know, as I said, it's a visceral thing. It's not an intellectual argument, and it's not something that I can demonstrate or prove with scientific figures or fact. So I feel as I've gone on and on. I'm sorry, a bit of a ramble. Nevertheless,
well, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say, trust your feelings, Chrissy, right? Right? And Yoda would say some of the questions are bigger than the answers, right?
That's very true.
I look at it from an extraterrestrial point of view, which is there was a cartoon that was a reflection of what was happening in the States with toilet tissue, right? Where there was that scarcity here and people were killing one another. Right? So there are two aliens talking to one another. They're orbiting the Earth, and one is saying to the other, should we go down and have a visit? And the other one said, no, they're killing each other and having a war over toilet paper right now. We'll wait. So we'll wait.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll wait.
There's a wonderful video, by the way. Someone sent to me on Facebook Messenger, and because I'm a techno hopeless, I don't know how to get it into any other format, but it's a nurse in Cornwall wearing her uniform. She resigned today. There are 3 people in a hospital that covers quite a large area of Cornwall, and she's basically just speaking out and become a whistleblower.
I should share that I spent some time with a frontline nurse on Saturday who has treated a lot of elderly folks with COVID. And she said that she doesn't believe that Trump had it. You know, and I think she's not the first person that I've met who said so. So regardless, I'm really gratified that you all care, because if you ask the average American where London was, they might say Connecticut. you know, or who the prime minister was. I mean, they wouldn't have a clue. So it's lovely to have that, just that energy, you know, that that you're holding a light for your poor cousins who have gone astray.
So we're just in the last few minutes of the call. Does anyone else want to come on and share?
I think Lisa should come on. If
I kind of, you know, I don't believe everything we're being told at all. But as I say, you know, I don't know if there's something much bigger going on this. I watched the Attenborough, his legacy to the world, and I kind of thought, yeah, actually, that's kind of explaining from a much higher perspective what's really going on here, whether it's man-made or whether it's a spiritually guided evolution, as difficult as that is. But in terms of the whole COVID thing, I lost my dad in May during lockdown, and he had 2 terminal illnesses, one of which was a respiratory illness that was terminal. And when he was in hospital, they said he tested positive for COVID and he was asymptomatic. So I was like, And, you know, the family had been caring for him in very close quarters and we were all negative. So that kind of made me think, really? And yet my best friend was very, very ill with COVID, managed to stay out of hospital, but was really, really poorly and has long COVID. So I keep a healthy curiosity about what is going on.
I think regardless of one's position, it's interesting to think about the microcosm leveling us down to size. Whatever you believe about it, whether it was created in Wuhan in a lab, viruses are very smart critters. So, not to make light of it, but we're definitely exercising care without going to extremes.
And yes, condolences for your father, Lisa. What I was just going to say is that it's not that I don't believe COVID exists or that there aren't extreme viruses out there which are more lethal than others. I just think that the amount of fear that's been created around it is totally out of proportion to the risk, and has to be a cover for something much larger. And everything that I've read suggests that it's part of this great reset, and that there is a big pharma, big tech, mass command control, AI-driven solution that brings together vaccinations and nanotechnology with AI and digital policing that will be the big solution to the governments worldwide. I mean, I just come at this from the point of view of an entrepreneur who's been in the world of capitalism. Entrepreneurs are always looking for new markets and new customers and new products. So if you're a big tech entrepreneur, or if you're in big pharma, so if you're someone like Bill Gates, what amazing new market, people control. And if you can bring your big pharma expertise with your big tech expertise and come up with a solution, and you've got ready-made governments worldwide who've got uprisings in their countries and are desperately looking to control the people because they can't get enough police force to control them, well, sell them a solution which involves vaccinations containing the nanotechnology particles that allow them to be policed by AI technology and tracked. And Bob's your uncle. And think how much money that makes. Think of how everyone's nicely under control. All the capitalists get really, really rich. All of the people are nicely under control and can be directed to vote how they want, go where they want, buy what they want. I mean, bingo. That's what's going on. That's the truth. That's my sense of it. And I feel that we will just derail it because I think that they thought we were stupid, and I think that they thought that it would work. And I don't think they expected so many people to rise up so quickly en masse before they had a chance to get these vaccinations in place. And as I said earlier, the fact that the very people that they want to control are the ones who will say, no, I do not consent, gives them a huge problem. because all of the compliant ones who bought into the mind control program, who say, yeah, shoot me up with the vaccination just to end my hell, they are all the ones that are already under control. So their plan will not work. And actually it's worked in reverse, because what it has done is triggered a mass awakening of consciousness, a mass awakening from people who were in the program, who believed in the system, who are now questioning the system. And it's only a matter of time before the system itself collapses. The false matrix, the false control matrix completely collapses. And when that collapses, it will be like a cocoon falling away, and a new era will be born where we just completely rewrite everything, how we do health, how we do the justice system, how we educate our children. Everything will be up for a blank canvas to let's create a new system which really creates true health and prosperity and joy throughout the whole planet for every being, not just the small percentage who've worked out to be ruthless enough to play the game. Yeah, so anyway, that's me on my soapbox.
Well, Rachel, we're still counting the votes on stupid in this country, as you probably know. So please stand by. But, when you accept simple answers to big questions, then, that's a sure sign of ignorance. At uni, I'm doing a year-long study with my students on trust. And I think that we have to trust ourselves. We've mentioned fear all along. One of my teachers at uni said, show me what you fear and I will show you what has happened to you. And I think I think we have to turn that around, right? I think in the work of the shaman, you face the fear because it's the great teacher. So I think that we still have to do the work regardless of the circumstances. So what Laura was talking about, we have to do the work. So I just wanted to get in a shameless plug, which is I am working on the first Indigenous conference, which will be next month, on inner and outer landscapes of the sacred. So I'll let you know about it, Rachel, so you can post it. But I've been working with Indigenous peoples all over the world, and I think bringing their voices to the fore is doing some work. So I encourage everybody to get back in your laboratory and not be discouraged. Those of you who are not intaking media, I salute you. And I have to say, I really appreciate you holding the light across the waters for us, as your poor cousins follow the path to transformation.
Wonderful, Kevin. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone who's joined the call. I'm going to call it to an end there, and just to sending you lots of love, and just watching what happens in America with interest. So bye for now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.